Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday. Such an exciting day. It is not raining here in the Carolinas. Woo! Last week when we talked, I think we were having a hurricane. So we did very little damage off of that, just a lot of flooding. So super excited to see the sun out here. Today, we're coming to you from MomPower, and we're going to talk about sparking the joy of learning with motivation. And Stan and I were just talking about motivation and what motivates us. Good morning, Stan.
Good morning. Yeah, it's amazing the things that motivate us. And we were joking about a task that is about to be accomplished. And the idea of that is and to make it fun. And this is what we're going to be talking about too, is to make whatever it is that we want to accomplish, make it fun.
Yeah.
Because when it's tedious and and it's inundating and it's just boring or it's just there's no incentive.
Yeah.
And it's not just to incentivize something with money, but I may be $5 million richer by the end of the day, depending on whether Dr. Mandy is able to accomplish the task that she is set out to do. So, hey, I'm already buying the car and the boat is being delivered.
Right? Seriously. We're talking. So there are little things, and this is for moms, because there are little things. I have this external mic that I've been wanting to set up. First of all, it took me a long time to buy it, but now it's just sitting on the floor right beside me every day. And it's been sitting there, I would say, for 2 weeks. So I was just thinking as we were getting started this morning, like, okay, what's going to motivate me to get this microphone installed? And then Stan took over and just said, hey, it's this easy. Stan, you have to give your verbiage of what you said to me then.
Well, I interjected in the beginning and I said, so how is that microphone working? Now, I knew that microphone hadn't been changed because I can tell the difference of sound. And I said, so how is that microphone working? Because I'm thinking if you've got it plugged in, you need to send that thing back. But I know the brand, right?
Right.
And this is also the way that we can increase that or bring that up with our kids as well. Now, Dr. Mindy is no kid, but she's a big kid. I'm a big kid. And I want to stay a kid. That Toys R Us song that was, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah.
I never want to grow up. And the reason is because I want whatever it is that I'm doing to have such a level of fun that it propels me, it draws me into instead of repels me. And so when I said, how's that microphone working? She said, I haven't plugged it in yet. I go, really?
Still sitting here on the floor in the package. So then Stan says, okay, well, he has a little motivator for me. That was to pay him $5 million if it's not installed by 5 o'clock. But he first of all says, hey, it's this easy. You tear the package open, you plug it in, you press default, basically a button or two, and boom, it works. Like explained how easy, but then gave me a motivator of money. So money is that's where his 5 million's coming in from me today. I'll be plugging in the mic.
I'm making room in my wallet for that.
Right. But it's so funny because my husband and I were talking earlier about how money is a motivator. Because I asked him, I said, what motivated you to go out and start your own business? And he said, you know what? I just saw my dad doing the grind. His dad was a barber, and his grandparents immigrated from Italy. When they got off the boat, they basically taught them the trade of being a barber in New York City. We actually saw the place. So his grandfather was a barber. He was a barber. They told him he was going to be a barber. He didn't want to be a barber because he saw his dad charging, and I don't know what it was. Let's say it was $1 a haircut at the time. It was a very minimal amount to stand on your feet all day and to just go through the grind of working so hard, but not being able to enjoy life. It was a struggle to pay bills and to eat basically for them. And he said, I saw that. So watching people and then money. He's like, I didn't want to live like that. He's like, I had to do something better. And that's kind of what drove him into starting his own business. But what about you? I know you had your own business. Kind of what
Yeah.
catapulted you into?
Yeah, the thing that motivated me was that I didn't want to live poor.
Yeah.
And for me, money wasn't my motivator. It was my ability to be creative
Yeah.
and to get different results. And that's really what my motivator was, is that, and I saw the way that some people lived and I saw the way that we lived. And there was a big disconnect.
Yeah.
And when I go to training, I see the way people think.
Yeah.
And I see the way that other people think. And I go, look, we all come into this world kind of on a same level.
Yeah.
But what happens in between? It's the experiences that we have and also our interpretation of those experiences. So my motivation when I owned my own business, it was not money. It was the ability to, number one, leave a legacy. And I thought I was going to leave a legacy, and for a while, my name was like the hot topic.
Yeah.
And in a good way, not in a bad way. I wasn't in a National Enquirer. And it was to make a difference on people's property.
Yeah.
And then when I understood that actually coaching is a business,
Yeah.
and is a profession, now I took the idea of just transforming a property to helping transform a life.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's my motivation.
Yeah.
And when we talk about education and learning and discovering, what is the motivation that you have for being an educator? And I want to say an educator because it's much different than just being a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that definitely. So I was a teacher for a long time, an educator. So my motivation every day was to see the lights go off in the eyes of the students, those big ahas that they received every day. Again, you're transforming lives, you're changing lives. Obviously, being a teacher, it's not about the money because teachers don't make any money. So it's never about the money for me. So there are other drivers and motivators. Like I was happy being a teacher and then progressing to becoming a principal. Like that brought me joy just from, like you said, being able to help transform lives, being able to help shape lives. Because it is a huge, you feel like you're providing value to the people, to the conversations around you. So I definitely love that part of it. Yeah, go ahead.
One clarification that I want to make sure that I did not communicate in the improper way is that I'm not saying that a teacher is not the same thing as an educator. I want to say that an educator is a deeper level of a teacher. A teacher is a profession.
Yeah.
But there's a different level and there's a different, I want to say, persona. I had many teachers and I had a few educators.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had people that did a job, and then I had people that infused inspiration into me to make me want to be like them.
Yeah.
And my kids have been, they're done with school.
Yeah.
But they had true educators and inspirers, and they had couple dozen teachers, a couple dozen adults that, multiple, probably 100 different teachers. But there was a handful of educators that took it to another level and inspired them and took their style and adapted what they saw.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And actually, number one on my list here today is watching others, observing them, and then wanting to be like them. Like that is a motivator. So providing opportunities to do that. Because when you're talking about depth of character, like you saw a depth of character. I had a high school teacher, and he had that huge depth of character, the compassion, the caring, and he taught things that seemed insignificant. He taught sign language, but it seemed like an insignificant topic. But I learned so much from him just because the value that he brought to life, the value, the character that he exuded, like he cared deeply for other people. So you saw him exhibiting that throughout, the day. And you're just like, I just want to be like him. Like it wasn't even about teaching or the topic or anything like that, but it was really the character. So how do we do that? Nowadays our kids are inundated with social media, and that they're getting bombarded with things that can direct. Hopefully moms are limiting screen time, but I guarantee you they're getting out there at some and seeing some things that really are false in a way. You're not able to see depth of character most times on social media. You're watching a video or a movie, so to speak, of someone's life for a clip of a minute or less. But so they're being inundated almost by a false value. So how do we take our what our children are exposed to today and then find that motivation for them? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I really see this as a big pandemic. And I say it that way is that our attention has been so distracted by every little tick and chime and beep and alert, and we have it all around us, and we have to be very conscious about who's taking our attention and what is taking our attention.
Yeah.
And if it is natural that it's taking our attention, then that's one thing. But if it's unnatural, and I want to say that being in front of a screen is absolutely unnatural.
Yeah.
And the detriment is not discovered until many years later.
Yeah.
And then, if you want, I'm going to just say this. If you want to know why your kids don't pay attention to you, it's because you've put them in front of a tube.
Yeah.
Because it's telling a vision, and that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And it's taking those kids and it's allowing them. I think the worst thing that ever happened was, when my kids were in junior high, I made them share a phone.
Yeah.
That was my deal. It was his phone this week. It was her phone this week. I mean, if I had to let them have a phone, I never had a phone when I was a kid, and I survived.
I know.
But the idea is that you got to put one of these in their hand as soon as they can say mama, papa. No, I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
But that's my own thought. But it's taking away our attention.
Yeah.
And, this is the calamity that there's a platform that they've shown. If you haven't seen the movie Social Dilemma, you want to watch that.
Yeah.
And it will make you reevaluate what that little gadget that is not necessary does.
Yeah.
And so it's stealing the attention. And, when we talk about getting involved with our kids, get on the ground. I mean, my gosh, I have so much fun. I don't want to run on, but I have this shelf that I picked up at a garage sale, and I had 3 extra shelves, right? It's a stackable. So instead of putting it any place, I just put it in the hallway, and it's kind of just sitting there, just kind of out of the way. Like, I don't want to get rid of it because I think maybe I might be able to use it. Well, I've got it sitting there. So now it's become a PlayStation where we pretend that there's strawberries and raspberries and bananas and mangoes and avocado and blueberries. And so we all kind of get around the corner, like I'm on one end, they're on the other 2 ends, and they're going, you want a strawberry? And then they'll feed it to me. And it's just getting down at their level. And they say, I'll be right back. And so they go out and they do this, and then they come back. And what I'm observing all over again is the creative mind and how they're learning. They're teaching me how they want to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll stop right there. Let you share what your thought is about that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. And again, learning style. We could talk about learning styles all day, but they're showing you exactly like you say how they enjoy to learn, which is through
Yeah,
play, through hands-on, using their imagination. So really incorporating that as much as you can. Again, I'm a huge fan of learning through play,
yeah,
learning through challenge, learning through hands-on activities. And I can't ever underestimate how valuable those experiences are. We've almost downplayed that in our society. Like if they're playing, they're not doing anything. Well, no, playing is actually good and a wonderful opportunity to teach skills within that play that will make it fun, engaging. The other part of that, I think, is that you allow them to come up with the activity.
yeah.
I think allowing the student, we call it self-directed learning in the university environment, but it really is just allowing the student, the child, to tell you or to find their own way in learning. It does work, believe it or not. A lot of the universities now today use a style of learning called self-directed learning, and they're just allowing the student, hey, you go find the information however you want to find it. We're going to give you some guardrails of
Right.
the stream you need to stay in, but you go find this whatever resource you like the best, or that speaks to you the most, or the way that you figure it out the best, then have at it. And I love that because I think that really allows the learner to be in control of how they want to learn. Um,
Exactly.
and that's huge. Again, if we could just allow that to happen, I think we'd drastically reduce our dropout rates in America. I think the kids that are dropout are just yearning for someone to give those guidelines and say, hey, go learn, go figure it out, instead of bombarding them into a box where they have to do widgets in the box. And personality wise, learning style wise, it just doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
And I'm probably teaching to the choir for sure with a lot of you. But again, just talking about motivation, like let them drive the learning. And I love that. That's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned a long time ago was that if I'm open to different possibilities, and
Yeah.
this has been kind of like the theme of my life, is that, and I say that imagination is the only limitation to transformation.
Yeah.
So when we allow our imagination to run wild, I can learn.
Yeah.
The worst three words that I can say is I know that.
Yeah.
Those are the worst three things that I can say. I know that.
Right. Right.
And then you compound that when you say already. I
Yeah.
know that already.
Yeah.
But the idea is to be open. This is how, Thomas Edison did it. This is how Walt Disney did it. This is how Steve Jobs did it. And these are people and
And the list goes on and on. It's
yeah,
Ford with cars. It's the Wright brothers with planes. It
yeah,
on and on, the things that drove America forward for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And let those kids teach us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I had a student in my classroom one time, and he was brilliant, like mega brilliant beyond his years. And we had to let him, he had to live in the classroom, but also we had to allow him like do his own thing. So being able to, again, provide the borders, you got to be here, but here's what we're going to let you do. We're going to let you do experiments and bring them to the class and present, and just trying to find ways. It can happen in a situation like that. Understanding your learner and then finding ways to help them bring that out is huge. But I also want to talk about the value of relationship. So Stan, we exhibited that this morning. The value of this relationship is going to help me get my microphone installed today, right? So the value of relationship. I know Einstein or Edison, he actually had several people in the lab. One of them was Tesla. Tesla was a mentor of Edison. And so Tesla was driving him with ideas. Eventually they split off, right? And kind of had a competitive thing. But the value of relationship and helping you drive your thoughts forward, because again, thinking is learning, right? Is huge. And just well, what do you think about this? And so, they say, they have the adage that says you are who you hang around.
Yeah.
How do you drive that forward? Because I will have to say, one of the stifling things for moms nowadays is if your kid starts to hang around the wrong kid, right? I know when I was growing up, I hung around the wrong kid and my parents cut that off. And I thought it was an inhumane injustice, right?
Yeah.
But I did the same thing to my kids when they hung around the wrong person. Oh, sorry, that's not going to work for you. So that value of relationship is huge and can impact and sway one way or the other.
Well, that my door was a revolving door, so I always encouraged the kids to have their friends come over.
Yeah.
And it was because inadvertently I became an influence to those other kids.
Right.
I coached my kids soccer. I coached my kids in swim team. I was constantly in the school, not as a helicopter parent, but as a person that was involved.
Yeah.
And I was their biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I was involved with that, and I could see now. And there was a period of time when my kids chose a particular person that was a lack of character.
Yeah.
And I knew it from the beginning. And it was like, Dad, you're just judgmental. You're just being mean. I'm like, no. And then it came out. And what I allow is the opportunity for them to explore and have their learning style and have that influence.
Yeah.
And in that, I ask them the question of, how can I be okay with this?
Yeah.
Tell me how I can be okay with this decision that you want to do. So, playing, learning, watching how they interpret the world was the biggest advantage that I had. Now, I didn't have a dad when I was growing up. I met my dad when I was 18. And so as a parent, I became that person that I never had. So my thought is, if there's something in your childhood that you didn't have, with your own experience, instill that into your child.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what would you want done differently?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. And again, that goes back to my husband's example, as he watched his dad in love, but he watched his dad in that grind and saw the, I don't know that you would call it unhappiness, but just saw the struggle, so to speak, and didn't want to live that lifestyle. So again, that was a motivator for him. So the things that we do experience in our childhood are motivators. But let's talk about our kids today. So now we're wealthier, it seems. We aren't having to struggle, or our kids are not struggling, it seems, to the point that we did. So maybe the struggle is not the motivator nowadays. Let's talk about the internal self-worth, because I think a lot of times my husband said to me, I just it was all about self-esteem. Like, I wanted to do something, build a business, like just for my self-esteem, for my own confidence. And I have to say, in my children, I think their success has been driven to just the motivator of, I have a good job. I did go to college. I have a good job. So just that confidence of, I did perform and do these things, as their motivator for kind of getting to the place where they are now. But I don't know. Let's talk about motivation, as there isn't a struggle nowadays, I don't think, as there was back then.
Well, I think it's different. I think it's a different struggle.
Yeah.
It's a different struggle because our attention, and it comes right back to our first topic, was that when our attention is so distracted, our struggles change.
Yeah.
So when we think that, if our kids only had it like we had it,
Yeah.
they didn't have the phone, well, our struggle was different. We
Yeah.
couldn't get, Elvis to come in on an AM radio. And I mean, that's the end of the world when Elvis can't come in on an AM radio. Okay. And, that was a struggle then. And when we couldn't make it to the roller skating rink, that was a struggle.
Right.
Now it's, I'm not getting the likes.
Yeah.
I'm not, they're not liking, I'm not getting the notifications. How come I'm not included in this group? And so the struggles are different because we've trained them to adapt to a society that was never really designed for them.
Yeah.
And they're trying to fit into a mold. And when I hear people say that they don't want to conform, I say everybody wants to conform to what they want to conform to. Nobody wants to be that complete outsider.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's when depression sets in. So we want to be involved and we want to connect.
Right.
And so when we can appreciate that and we can understand, what is the value of having that phone? It's connection.
Right.
And the only definition of connection is that they've learned is this. Now, you and I, it was attached to a wall. And, the 3-foot cord turned into like a 27-foot cord. How does that happen,
Right. That's so true. Yes, I want to talk about that. Like, we're not bashing technology.
Right.
Technology is an amazing thing, and it's just continuing to grow into an amazing thing. It's how you harness it and how you put the boundaries on it that will catapult folks forward, and especially children. So we lived in a neighborhood. We had a little boy, and he loved to build engines. Right? He would come around and ask you what kind of, he was probably, I don't know, 8 years old at the time. He'd come around the neighborhood, showcase his engine, and what kind of engine can I build you? I had it on his little wagon, was tearing, going around the neighborhood. What can I do for you to help with my building my engine business, so to speak? So that was very innovative, very creative. His mom was a homeschool mom, and she allowed for that, encouraged that, but also then drove that technology piece of it. Eventually, as he got a little bit older, to be a teenager, he launched his own business and did very well. I see that as the parameters of success. Again, finding the passion, the enthusiasm in your child, and then just putting boundaries on that. Again, like we talked about before, if she had been maybe a overprotective mother, she might not have let him ever go around the neighborhood with his little wagon, right? So understanding that moms, we may be doing something that's limiting our children's progress moving forward. So trying to really understand and have wisdom and insight is huge, I think.
Yeah. It's just learning just to play again.
Yeah.
I think, and this is what I love about, and I tell people if I could have had grandchildren before I had children, I probably would have, right? And it's impossible. But the idea behind that is that they bring that life.
Yeah.
It's not just a responsibility, but it is a responsibility.
Yeah.
It's the fulfillment of that playfulness. It's that youth. That's where the youth factor comes in. If you want a serum for longevity, get around kids. And I think this is one of the things that I hear a lot of teachers and educators talk about is the youthfulness and the creativity and the ideas that switch each year. They don't have the same kid. And third grade teachers, they tell me that is just like the magic time. Second and third grade. And they get into fourth and fifth grade, they start to think they know everything. And by this time they're in the sixth grade, they do know everything. And then, if they haven't written a book by everything that they thought that they knew. And then when they graduate, they realize how much they didn't know. So it takes some time.
Yeah.
but it's just playing that.
Yes.
And I just I can't stress how much, there's not just three individual learning styles, though we kind of summarize it. There's 8 billion people on the planet. I don't know, maybe my statistics are wrong. I haven't done a census. There's 8 billion different learning styles because there's a combination.
Right.
So I want to say just embracing and endorsing whatever learning style that child has and appreciating them, that's going to build character.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I think let's talk about one subject real quick before we end today. And that's the subject of money. I see tons of blog posts. Should I give my child an allowance? Should I pay my child for chores? Let's talk about the money motivator. How did you build that with your children? Did you give them a set amount a week if they did their chores for the week? How did you work with that?
Okay. I love that. I love that. And this is the truth.
So what else we talk about is untruth, but this is
right. So the idea behind it was that they enjoyed like treats and desserts, and this is before I understood about the nutrition value. But what I would do was I'd say, okay, so if you make your bed by 9 o'clock, okay, especially on Saturday, and if you make your bed before you go to school, I'm going to give you $1.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you brush your teeth by a certain time, I'm going to give you $1. Now, if your bed isn't made by 9 o'clock on the weekend and your brother goes in and makes your bed, I'm going to give him your $1.
Wow.
And I would do that. And then what I said was, you're going to use this money to buy the things that you want. Now, here's the idea. We'd go to Olive Garden back then. Okay, this is here again before I knew nutrition. And my son would love calamari and he'd love the dessert and he'd love this. And so what I did was, since I'm already going to buy the food, right?
Right.
I'm giving him incentive to understand the learning and the value transfer. Now, if he wants the dessert or he wants the calamari, he pays for the calamari.
Yeah.
Now, because it is, so he would save his money and he'd want to buy something rather than saying, Dad, I want this. Say, okay, I'm going to give you this. And it was an incentivized allowance, not just handing money over, but creating a value. And then we had 3 areas. 1, 80% they could spend on what they wanted. 10% was their savings, and 10% was their tithe, what they took back to God.
Yeah.
And taught that value while they were growing up.
Yeah.
And it was something that we started. It probably didn't carry all the way through, but it was a foundation that they could always go back to. So now they have that understanding. And if I'm going to give them money, if I'm going to pay for it anyway, why not make them have that incentive?
Yeah.
And then they share that value and then they decide, do I really need the extra whatever it is?
Yeah.
And let them pay for it. There's such a value in that. That's how I did it.
Yeah. I love that. And $1's a lot. I think I started out with quarters because $1 was a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could potentially get to $14 by the end of the week or whatever it is. And that's a lot of money that, but you're right. Exactly. That incentive based on what they did or didn't do is huge. And then being able to then make decisions around, okay, now that I have this, what am I going to spend it on? And allowing them to spend it on, even if they feel like it's a bad choice, even if you feel like it's a bad choice, let them spend it on what they want to. Again, taking hands off to a
because I never buy anything that I shouldn't, right?
Right.
Here's that truth telling again. Okay, I'm telling the truth. All right. I bought stuff that like I asked myself, what was I thinking?
Hey, I'm with you 100% for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yep. All right. Well, this was a great conversation. I love this topic. I do feel like I see a lot of blogs, moms are just saying, how do I motivate my child? So next time I'd like to talk about internal motivation and external motivation a little bit. What are all of those things that make them want to actually do it rather than sit on the couch, and how does their personality play into that? Because I'm going to be honest with you, some personality types like to sit on the couch and not do anything, right?
Yeah.
Some personality types don't like to finish a thing. I actually have that personality type. So how are you going to take that personality of that child who's like not going to ever finish a project because it's part of who they are? So how are you going to help them learn and drive in those things? And again, like I said, one of the personality types is to sit on the couch and watch TV. So how are you going to take that, or to watch whatever, social media, whatever? That's it's comfortable to them because that's their learning style, so to speak, is sitting and watching. So how are we going to take that and actually drive our children forward, push those boundaries a little bit to make that happen? So love this conversation. All right. Any final word on motivation for today?
I just, this today is $1,000,000 Tuesday. And so if Mindy gets their microphone up, she gets to keep her millions. If she doesn't, we're having a party.
You're having a party. I know. Community, community, community. The value of friendships is amazing. So, thank you for watching. If you got any value, inspiration out of our talk today, and again, that's our driver and motivation, just to have a conversation to allow you to go, aha, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. Let me try that in my own life. Then that's what's driving us to do this. So like, subscribe, follow, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. All right.